promised ourselves and the world at large, anybody that was listening out there, that we would talk about the mysteries of consciousness, or the mystery of consciousness, for 3 Sundays, and this is the 3rd one. So the first Sunday we talked about what? Consciousness itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then last Sunday we talked about
Story.
And this day we talk about mystery. How can we talk about mystery?
How can we talk about that which we don't know?
Yeah, that gets stuff.
Which I end up doing all the time.
We all do. Well, one way to understand mystery is through looking to understand our consciousness. Because generally, we don't know what we're doing here. We don't know who we are. And then we go into story, and we listen and we hear, if we open up, and we begin to know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to let that go, because it hardens.
Yeah, we like knowing.
And we like knowing. And often we won't let it go. We'll just stay formed. And this is the answer, and this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. That's where that leads.
Yes.
So the mystery of consciousness is exactly that. It's continuing to open to understanding, that we are opening. On the way over here, I brought my camera, of course, and all of a sudden I was called, and then it just kept happening over and over, to take a photo of this open gate. And then I came to a closed gate, but it had a sign on it that said, welcome. And then I came to a 3rd gate, which was just a shadow of a gate. And so I couldn't help but think about what we're talking about, that these various doors or gates that we go through. And it's mystery. Often we don't dare to go through. But you being a cop and me being a Marine, we'd go through them. And other people have their energies that go through. We do it anyway. I talked about, I said something to you the other day, and you asked if I'd bring it up again today. I foolishly, which is my usual mode of operation, said yes. And it has to do with Stanley Romaine Hopper, who's I think a prime teacher of one of your prime teachers, right? Yeah. And Hopper, who of course has gone on, as we say, Hopper wrote this book about faith. And in the middle of the book, as I was telling you about this, in the middle of the book, it says interlude. So here's this first half of the book, which is heavy philo-cosmological talk, which is also quite refreshing. And then he starts talking about Alice in Wonderland.
That's right.
Yeah. In his writing, and then my reading more about Alice, and allowing Alice to think me, so to speak, I began understanding more about the mystery of consciousness.
Yeah, and maybe even remembering more. I think Alice even says that it's a poor kind of memory that only works backwards.
She does. She does, and that's exactly the point. I knew you'd comprehend. that Alice is on the chessboard. And at first she doesn't know it's a chessboard. I mean, there are clues. There's a red queen, and there's this obnoxious queen, the white queen. Well, they're both obnoxious in their way. And Alice is moving from one square to another. And she has to have help from time. from time to time. She finally gets to this place where here is the white knight, and the white knight is helping her. And the white knight is a total fool, which is a theme that keeps occurring in what we've been looking at. But I want to go to the global and not get right to the specifics at the moment. The global understanding of this is that Alice doesn't know she's on a chessboard. Often we don't know we're on this chessboard. We think it's these things real, and it is. But we don't know we're on a chessboard, so to speak. She doesn't know, and then it's revealed to her. And it's revealed to her in a certain way. And I won't go into that right now. But it's revealed to her in a certain way. And she understands she's on a chessboard, and all of a sudden, she begins to act. She makes a move. She quits being a victim of it all and being pushed here and there. The queen, the white queen, is trying to hurry her. Hurry, 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 you gotta make more money, you gotta make more money, you gotta get more stuff, you gotta get more stuff, you gotta get salvation, you gotta get more salvation. You gotta get more of this. You got enough of Jesus? Well, no, you need more of Jesus. You got enough Buddha? Nope, you need more Buddha, 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 Buddha. Get it going, boy. That's the white queen. Alice all of a sudden has enough. And she realizes, huh, I'm a queen too on this chessboard. And she becomes queen and acts like a queen. And then she's off the chessboard. And she's holding her little kitty cat. And she's back. But she's not back. She hasn't gone back. She cannot remember back there. She's here. That's it.
That's good. That's good. There's so many things. She decides she's a queen, so she acts like a queen, you say.
She does.
And this is sort of what I was talking about last time when I said our personality, or maybe it was Thursday night, I don't remember where. Our personality creates our reality.
Say some more about that.
If you believe you're a queen and you act like a queen, this world seems to understand that you're a queen.
Yes, it does. Isn't that a beauty of it? That's a mystery too.
It is.
That as we act, so we receive.
And I think being in the mystery always feels absurd. It always feels surreal. Like when Alice falls down the rabbit hole, she experiences at first that reality as something that's very, very different. It's very alien. And she can't quite grasp the physics of this place.
Topsy-turvy world.
Mm-hmm. But eventually, she does. And she adapts to that. And she doesn't find it to be alien at all. And that move of sort of making this absurd, alien, strange, unknowable place home changes everything.
When I was walking over today, and it is true, salvatur ambulando. It is solved by walking around. That is true. That is ancient. See, when I was walking over today, just a little while ago, it was coming to me that we often think, we generally think, I think it's called sanity to think this way, that this is the conscious world and the unconscious world is somewhere else.
Yes.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
The thought came to me very powerfully, and you know how thoughts can just, what if this were the unconscious world?
That we're in? That we're living
in right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And as I began walking, I began bumping into, meeting, greeting realms of the unconscious. A tree was not a tree. A shadow was not a shadow. And the understanding is, and this is new to me, I mean, I've kind of known this, but I know it more now, that this world is the unconscious. We've made a move, because then what is conscious? What is consciousness if this is the unconsciousness? So we've made a move. We've stepped back from the chessboard, which is what Stanley was looking to say. He did say it. No longer are we just on it, because we're still on it, and we're still playing the game of it. Mm-hmm. Me, you, us, them, right, wrong, up, down, commie, liberal, etc., etc. Radical atheist, all these things, you know, we throw at each other. We're still in this game and on this board, and yet we're witnessing it. It's another way of saying it.
Yes. Seeing through it was Hopper's. What I've been writing about lately is, you know, the diaphor.
Yes.
Is the extension of metaphor. Metaphor says this thing is that thing. And diaphor then goes even farther and says we have to see through these things.
Use your rose analogy to help me understand that more. The metaphor, my love is a rose.
Oh yes, the great poet Robert Burns says, my love is a red rose.
Yes.
And that's metaphor. He's saying my love is a rose.
Yes.
And that's a difficult thing for us to wrestle with, because it makes us wrestle with the impossible sameness, and that might be Hopper's phrase too. I'm not sure anymore after all these years.
No, they all come together.
But it makes us wrestle with the impossible sameness of roses in love. And so, if we were to say, my love is like a red rose, that's simile. That's not as hard.
No, it removes.
Yeah.
She is like a red rose.
So metaphor, the Greek word, means transport. And you stand at the bus stop in Athens, you're waiting for the metaphora. Takes you from one place to the other. So what this does is it transports not just a sense of meaning from this thing to this thing, but it transports oneself into these things.
It's a trinity now.
Yes. And we have another Greek word operating. And I know you know what I'm going to say.
Yes, I do. And I love it. Perichoresis.
Which means around, peri. Choresis means dance-like movement. And so perichoresis is this swirling, interfusing, interpenetrating movement of these experiences, not just concepts, but now because they're metaphor, they're experiences.
They are experiences.
And that's the beauty of metaphor. They become, as soon as this thing is seen metaphorically, it lends itself to an experience. And so now all of this stuff is whirling inside and around and through us in this perichoretic way. And metaphor then moves us out of our mundane existence, our usual experience of the world.
Is that diaphor or is diaphor something else?
Now diaphor takes that even farther. And diaphor says it's not enough to be, or at least as I've been thinking about it, it's not enough to be occupying this metaphoric space. One has to even see through that.
Yeah, okay.
Because then something else opens up. And something else opens up after that. I think consciousness is like those Russian Matryoshka dolls. You know, you open them up and there's another one inside.
Yeah.
And instead of finding the little homunculus at the in the last one, it just continues to go on in an infinite way.
Well, that fits fractals.
Yeah.
The whole fractal way. Inside and out.
Yeah.
So, say more.
About
Diaphor.
diaphor. And
We're seeing through metaphor.
yes, yes. Well, so we were given a talk the other night about Parzival, or the Arthur legends, and particularly about Parzival and the Grail. And there's a moment in Wolfram's epic poem about Parsifal where I'm trying to think if this happens to Parsifal or if it happens to his father. And at the moment I don't recall. But anyway, one of their wives-to-be, they don't know yet that this is going to be the person that they're married to, comes to the bedside before they have been, betrothed to each other. And Wolfram says she's in this diaphanous gown. Diaphanous, seen through, like diaphragm. And Wolfram says she's dressed for battle. Now there's a metaphor.
It is. So when we're in the diaphanous, we are dressed for battle.
When we move into the diaphanous, we are doing battle with our ordinary consciousness.
So when I was walking over today, and I know you won't humor me on this and say, oh yeah, that's right, George, because you never have. And I was walking over today then, and all of a sudden my consciousness opened to the realization that this is the unconscious. And my consciousness is in another place. Is that a seeing through, or is that something different?
I think that is a seeing through. Jung tells a story in Memories, Dreams, and Reflections of when he was a boy, and he was sitting on this enormous rock. And for this period of time, he has this awareness that he asked himself the question, am I me sitting on this rock, or am I the rock being sat upon? Or something along those lines. And this kind of experience of consciousness we tend to dismiss very quickly. We put a label on it, and we say, well, that's crazy. Of course you're you sitting on the rock. What's the matter with you? And we don't allow for these little moments of expansion that we all experience all the time.
What stops us there? How do we stop ourselves? Why do we stop ourselves? How do we not, I ask myself these questions as well. How do we not see that this is a deeper reality?
I think there's a fear of this, this kind of experience, because it's sort of fundamentally anarchic.
It is.
It disturbs society. It disturbs the comfortable order.
And we do not want to create a disturbance.
Yeah, and we create a nice society in our own private lives too, a society of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, however big the family is. And we don't want that order disturbed, so we don't make allowances or create room for these kinds of experiences, or at least the questions of what is that?
If there has ever been a time for disturbing, it's now.
Yeah.
One of the understandings is that we're at a realm, we're at a pivotal realm, and it's been said in different languages, but one language is that we're at the end of a kalpa, or an eon, long period of time. And a way, in the language I like to use, and you too, a way of consciousness is coming to an end. It's the end of a world,
right?
Not the end of things.
And this is what I think most apocalyptic visions are referring to. It's not that the world is going to end. It's not that all of a sudden we'll be incinerated in an eruption of fire and brimstone.
That's literal.
That's literal. It's not acknowledging the metaphorical quality of that, nor is it an attempt at diaphor, to see through that. Well, so what's really being pointed to here?
What are you seeing through these days?
Well, in that case, what I see through, I think in some ways, what I see through too is that that's a way that we express our existential fears, our own fears of annihilation. And it's somehow comforting for us to think that we'll take a whole bunch of other people with us.
If I'm going, you're going.
Yeah.
I guess there is some comfort in that. It's a peculiar kind of
You know,
comfort.
we strive to be individuals, but we want to do everything in tandem or in groups.
So you're seeing through that.
Yeah. And so what I see that really as a metaphor of is as you say, this transformation of consciousness. Everything else must die. The way of knowing the world must die. It must be destroyed. It must be, and this is the fundamental element of creation, or the opposition of creation, is its destruction. And these two things exist simultaneously. A painter can't, create a work of art without destroying the canvas. So these things are inherently connected.
That creation comes out of destruction, which is happening all the time.
And vice versa.
Like our corpuscles, our corpuscles, our cells, our molecules. About, it is said, and by reputable people in these fields, so I believe it is said that 1/4 of us, 1/4 of our molecules in a human is dying.
Yes.
1/4 is being born, and 1/2 is middle age, and this is a continuing process. That's not a static photo.
Right.
We're just transforming all the time.
We're probability charts of molecules.
It's like you say, that creation comes out of this destruction.
Yes.
We're forever arising from the flames.
Yeah. And to me, this is a remarkable awareness to have, because that means the story, as we were talking about last time, the story that we tell ourselves, that here's the story of me, and I rehearse it enough over and over and over. Every time we meet somebody new, like you and I just did today, I tell you my story, and it gets solidified a little bit more each time. And now, after 54 years of doing that, I am really solid, I think.
You think?
But I'm still just this probability chart
Uh-huh.
of molecules that are loosely adhered or cohered, ideally cohered, but probably adhered more often than not.
One answer, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
One answer I've given to that spontaneously is, I was asked, "Who are you?" And I said, and I'll say it now too, I don't know, but I can tell you a good story.
Yes,
Maybe lots of them.
That's right.
About who I am.
And I think even, in fact, this is what Jung introduced this sort of biographical work of his, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. I believe in the preface somewhere he said that this is the myth of my life as well as I can know it. The myth of my life, the myth lives us, the story lives us.
Mm-hmm, it does.
We think we're in control of the story, but we're not. The story has us.
Well, my favorite story is the story of Jesus. And a lot has been opening to me about that ever since my rigid dogma Baptist days, when I would stand up in college and read from my Bible to the professor about how wrong he was. Excuse me, that's not right. It says right here. I did that. I've come a ways.
Bless your heart.
Thank you so much. It's not been without dying and effort,
Oh, I know,
crucifixion,
I know.
etc. You know how it goes.
I do.
We all go through these things on our own paths. Where was I going? Oh yeah. That this story is living me, and it's a different story than I knew back then. It's a very different story, and maybe I'll go into it today, or maybe I won't. I don't know. But the point I'm looking to emphasize is our story does live us. I know this through my own experience. A way we know this is through sitting down and being quiet for a while. Seems to me, it's always dangerous when I say that. It seems to me that we've been living a consciousness that is an I-it consciousness, to use Buber's terms. Bubba, I like to call him sometimes. so we got to get it. We got to get more it. And it's a familiar story, so I won't go into that very far. But that consciousness is coming to an end. It's the consciousness of quantity.
Oh yes, yeah.
The
yeah.
consciousness,
Yeah.
and we must move, and we are moving, as I see it and feel it, to a consciousness of quality.
Yes.
Whatever this is that's emerging now.
Yes. I love it when you surprise me. I didn't see that one coming.
Oh.
But it does remind me though of, you know, you and I have both talked a lot about and love Rene Guénon's book called The Reign of Quantity.
Yes.
And so this notion that this stuff starts to deteriorate, this starts to erode, the idea of measuring everything finally brings us no closer to any kind of satisfaction.
It does not. You know, I went to, I told you just briefly, I went to a graduate school a long time ago, and I was told when I got there, psychology, graduate school, psychology, study of the soul, right? Study of the psyche, right?
Our profession has squeezed the soul right out of
It has.
psychology.
It has. Well, the first week I was there, the chairman of the department got up and said to this new group that I was in, this fledgling group, he said, if any of you have any ideas about healing in your mind, just get them out of your mind right now, or get out of here. And I thought, shut up. Let's see about this. And what happened was, it was taught over and over, except for a few professors that I hung out with, the reason I went there anyway, that if we don't have an operational definition, it doesn't exist. We have to measure it, or it doesn't exist. And this is what's got us, if you don't mind my saying so, and if you do mind, I'm going to say it anyway, Wall Street. It's got us to our current dilemma that it's numbers that matter. People don't matter, souls don't matter. Humanity does not matter. It's numbers. The more numbers you got,